Hey everyone, so I've been riding without chamois for about 10 years as my solution to being able to ride all day, multiple days, multiple weeks on all bike types and terrain, pain-free and comfortably in my pelvis, butt, and saddle area. And this video is going to share my tips and tricks for the saddle, the shorts or pants, and how to get started. So first, the problem with chamois is that the pad itself, for me, initially was really uncomfortable when I first started riding because it added pressure. You know, there's just putting a lot more fabric and material in a pretty small space, you know, between my butt and legs and the saddle. And so that initially caused discomfort. And then I realized that because chamois are basically a big foam fabric or pad that absorbs moisture, that they get wet from sweat or the weather, and that increased wetness, like wearing a wet diaper, that causes things like saddle sores or skin infections, or just slows down the healing that is inevitable from the contact of riding your bike. So going without chamois provides a solution where your skin can dry faster, you can keep your skin cleaner, prevent things like saddle sores, and with the right saddle and the right shorts, you can also be even more comfortable. So first, the saddle. I think saddles are the hardest thing to find that is right for people. Bikes come with random saddles. They're hard to test, and it takes time and money to get the right saddle fit for you. I have now for years been riding the Ergon SR women's saddle in size medium large. I know that this is the saddle for me and the right size for me, not based on my height. I'm actually pretty small and short and petite, but by getting a professional saddle fit with pressure mapping, that is what determined this to be the right width for me and the right model for me. In addition to getting a saddle fit is the first thing. The other criteria for a saddle for me are things I recommend to look for people with female parts, female anatomy, the cutouts in the saddle that extend from the nose of the saddle all the way back to where your sit bones go. That is probably the most important feature of a saddle because it alleviates a huge area of pressure where we are the most sensitive. That length of it gives you the room to move forward and back, to be more forward or more upright, and for that relieved area to cover the area that you need as you move around on your bike. As far as the cushioning goes, there is too much and there is too little out there. I think that a saddle that is rock solid is only going to accentuate pressure points in your sit bones, and a saddle that is really cushioned and too soft you're going to sink into it rather than be on top of it. And our saddles are not meant to be like lazy boy chairs where we just sink right in. We want to be able to move around on them. We just want enough cushion that actually distributes the pressure a little bit. And that takes a bit of personal preference and recommendation from a saddle fitting, because ultimately it's the pressure mapping on the saddle of your sit bones and how your pelvis is, the anatomy of your pelvis, that matters. And then lastly, once you have a saddle, take the time to identify how the rails are and the shape of the profile of the saddle. You can see with this one that actually the back of the saddle flares up. And so when my rails are level, it looks like the saddle is tilted forward. And for me, that's actually really comfortable because you don't want a saddle where the nose is pushing into your pubic bone. And you also don't want a saddle that's tilted so far forward that you're sliding forward off of it and having to tilt your pelvis in an unnatural way. So finding the saddle that you ride is shaped, orient it so that your pelvis is comfortable in the neutral position on your bike, and then play with it a bit too. So what to wear on your bike to go chamois free is the question that I probably get the most, asked the most. And there are a couple principles that I think about for the garments, and I'll talk about those and then share a bit more about what I actually use that works really well for me. So for the garments, we want to think about the material, the seams, and the fit. For material, like once you eliminate the chamois, there's more material against your skin, and you just want the material to be soft enough that it's not abrasive, because that is going to be a place of contact. You know, anywhere that your skin touches your saddle is a point of contact, and you want the material against your skin to feel really smooth and to not be causing unnecessary friction. So spandex shorts, when you wear those without chamois, which you can do by cutting the chamois out, or by getting just spandex shorts that people run in, or triathlete shorts that just have a tiny, really thin, narrow pad. Those are going to be pretty soft and are designed to be worn in movement. And then mountain bike shorts that are baggies will be a variety of different materials. My favorite are the Patagonia Dirt Roamer short. It's a very thin, very smooth, stretchy fabric, and it feels like nothing against your skin. And then for shorts that are a little bit more durable, which has its own set of pros, are like a short like the Patagonia Dirt Craft or the Dirt Craft pants, like these. Those, for me, take just a little bit more time to get used to during the season, so I'll start with those on shorter rides. But because they're stretchy and they are still quite soft, they can work really well as well. There are shorts out there that are mountain bike shorts that are a lot thicker, generally some of the more enduro or downhill shorts, and those are durable, especially for like crashes or brushing up against things, but you might find them to be a little bit more abrasive, and so that's just something to notice. Then when we think about the actual lack of chamois and the space or the area of the short that a chamois would cover, we really want to think about the seams, because the shorts that have chamois have seams, and then the seams are just covered by the chamois traditionally. So when you eliminate the chamois, you have to think about where the seams are, because those seams have the likelihood of being a very significant point for chafing or discomfort. And so in the spandex short side of things, what I do that some people have noticed is I still will wear like a nice bib. These are Rapha. And then I cut out the chamois and I sew in my own little chamois pad that doesn't, or fabric that doesn't have any padding. And so you can see it's just a little piece of fabric, and I've sewn this exactly where the chamois would go on the short on the inside. And that is just to cover the seams and move seams away from where I have the most contact and where my skin is the most sensitive. And I've just put a super, super soft piece of fabric in there. You can have a seamstress do this, or you can do this yourself if you're good with a sewing machine, or in my case, my husband does it for me, which is wonderful. An alternative to this solution, which is money and time intensive, is to get like a triathlon short that has that tiny little tri pad in there. They won't have the problems of chamois, but they eliminate the seam issue. So on the baggy short end of things, the seams can kind of vary. The best solutions are to find shorts with seams that aren't in problematic places, or to find seamless shorts. And so here are a couple examples. The Patagonia Dirt Craft short and pant has a seam that hopefully you can see here. It runs not down the middle of the short, but actually down, there's a panel of fabric that extends all the way down the short, so that the middle of the short, where you're really sitting, there's no seam there. The seam is actually forward where you wouldn't have contact on your saddle and farther back. That works really well for me. Is something that I would recommend looking for in a baggy short, is just that seam that would not be sat on. And then, in my opinion, the best option are shorts that are seamless. And so this Patagonia Dirt Roamer short, you can see, has taped seams. And so there's not actually any raised seam with thread. It just is completely smooth, taped seam, and you can't feel it against your skin, which is pretty amazing. I've worn these shorts for all day rides, like 12, 13 hours on the bike, and worn them continuously day and day and day for maybe a 3-week trip and without any issues. And then between all of these, the fit is just important in that you don't want your shorts bunching up underneath you, and you also don't want them so tight that they would be just uncomfortable. But looking for fabrics that are naturally a little stretchy and move with your body is going to help the short move with you rather than against you, because it's when it's moving against you that you're going to have more friction and rubbing. As far as actually getting started and some tricks for sustaining a chamois-free riding lifestyle, the first thing is do not go straight into an all-day ride or a multi-day trip with no chamois if that's what you're used to. Find that right saddle and then start with short rides and start with alternating days riding without chamois and riding with chamois. It does take some experimentation with what shorts work for you. Hopefully this helps you get started. And then once you are going on multi-day trips, bringing a pair of chamois and bringing a pair of chamois-free shorts is a good start. And then once you're fully chamois-free, and even this applies to any multi-day trip if you are exclusively riding with chamois, but bring 2 different pairs of shorts that are different styles so that you have, like, say you have a pair of shorts that has seams in a decent place, and then you have a pair of shorts that are seamless or that have like more of the chamois shaped fabric to eliminate seams. Then by alternating days riding in different shorts, you're giving your bottom and your skin a break from that one style and giving that skin a chance to just recover. And eventually, like, you'll probably build up a comfort and tolerance to be very content all day for multiple days in one pair of shorts. But 2 pairs of different shorts is always a good strategy. And then lastly, you know, if you think about riding your bike as including 3 points of contact, technically 5, but 3 zones of contact between you and your bike. You have your hands, your feet, and your butt. And so it's when like our hands have to get used to holding onto grips and they toughen over the season. Similarly, our feet, I mean, generally they don't have to do too much because we spend so much time on our feet anyway, but our feet do get used to walking and being in shoes, and our butts have to get used to riding as well. And so it's not reasonable to expect your butt to just suddenly be okay with all day, big long hours and multiple days in the saddle. But you can train it by working up gradually and using chamois cream to reduce friction, and taking really good care of the hygiene and cleanliness of your shorts and your skin while you're out. And ultimately, all of this can lead to being really comfortable and having a happy bum and bottom without any saddle-oriented issues for long days and multiple days at a time. And ultimately, a happy butt can lead to being a happy cyclist. Good luck.